Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, P Farm. Thinking right out here in the lab. What do what I do for you? Oh, I got a nice lesson for you today. Something you should be interested in. How about that? Let's go. Rightism. 25 rules to live by. Storytelling. Story with a message. The message in the story for life. I give life lessons. You tune in and receive them. The numbers are looking good. I appreciate you. Let's get to work. Right Thinker's mission, and that's what I'm on, is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right Thinker's way of life through mental and spiritual discipline daily will help and guide you to attain your goal of spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission, and that's what I'm on, is to get all right thinkers to know thyself. Right thinkers, if you part of this gift, my philosophy, knowing thyself is your goal. Let's do it. I give you everything you need to make that possible. Okay? I ask the question, do you know you? It's rhetorical, but if you don't have the answer for yourself, tune in. I can help you with that. That's what I do for you. Okay? A person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. A person who knows not and knows that they know not. It's simple. You teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believes and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm the spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself, and to Maya, be true. We're going to talk about right thinkers, the yogic disciplines and their Kemetic origins. When we think yoga, we think India, we think the Vedas, we think Mahabharata. But no, the yoga concept started in Egypt. The disciplines of yoga that were practiced were in ancient Egypt. And we're going to talk about their places of origin, which is in the Kemetic culture. Okay, let's start with Kemetic scriptural sources of yoga philosophy. Again, most people familiar with the yoga traditions of India, and they tell you India, we got our information from Egypt. In India, they considered that the Indian texts, such as the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, etc., these are all books of information, enlightenment, are the primary and original sources of what? A yogic philosophy. So they say in the teachings. However, not like that, however, upon what? Examination, what happened? The teachings currently espoused in all the major forms of Indian yoga, guess what? Can be found in ancient Egyptian scripture inscribed where? In the papyrus and even on the temple walls. When I give you information, I look at it, go over it, make sure it's correct. So my teacher who wrote this is what he do. So I can follow it and I don't have a problem with it. Why? He does his job and so I can do mine. Teach what I got from him to you. The following, watch this. You got the following general outlines what? A yoga practice. We have one, watch this. Which you can what? Apply. All the information I give you is applicable as soon as you receive it. You can implement it for yourself. Okay? So you can apply it in what? Your daily life to what? To maintain your mental health. It's all mental. You should make every reasonable effort to make sure that what? That these elements are present in your spiritual program, which is what? Therefore, you should reflect on them when? Daily. And evaluate your ability to what? Follow them daily. They all are designed to what? To promote peace and harmony where? Within you And from what? This space and peace and harmony, your progress is understanding the teachings, and your inner discovery of what? Yourself will be promoted. Knowing thyself is the end game, but obtaining knowledge, manifesting the lessons will get you there. That's what it's all about. Now let's talk about the introduction to what? The yoga of what? Wisdom, aka Aset. She represents intuitive knowledge, aka wisdom. She's the goddess of wisdom, and your aspect of the aspect of your personality, you need to have her in charge. Why? She's the wisdom. She has knowledge. Okay, watch this. Now, in the temple of Aset, she had her own temple. They call it Isis. In ancient Egypt, the discipline of the yoga of what? Wisdom is imparted in 3 stages. The same thing we taught back in ancient time. The same 3 phases, the same 3 steps of learning back then, we still practice today. And that is what? First one, number 1, listen. Listen to the wisdom teachings on the nature of reality, creation, and the nature of the self. That's the creation story. I try to give it to you so you can understand. Start from the beginning. In the beginning, there was the noon. Okay? Christian, there was the abyss. Okay? And there was what? The Word. The Word was God. The Word was all that. Yeah, everybody got a story. Understand that. You pick and choose the one that suits your fancy. Let's go. Number 2, reflecting. What does reflecting mean? Reflecting means introspection, checking yourself. That means going to your own self and evaluating you. That's self-reflecting. And you reflect on what? You reflect on those teachings, first of all, and you incorporating them where? Into your daily life. When you get life lessons, what I'm giving you, right, is my life lessons, you can use them in your life as soon as you get the concept, as soon as you understand the lesson, you can implement it and use it for yourself. That's why I give it to you, so that you can use it at your discretion. You will come a point in time where you will have to use it. I'm just making sure you're prepared. Boy Scouts is prepared for everything. We ain't Boy Scouts no more. We just out here willy-nilly. I don't have a clue what we're doing. Let's start getting back to doing the things that we need to do. Moving on. Number 3, meditation. I don't hear that enough from religious side. I don't know why, but I pray and then I meditate. If you pray without meditating, you're talking to God, but you're not communicating with God through meditation. That's the purpose of meditating. Meditation on what? On the meaning of the teachings that you're being taught. Meditate on higher consciousness, being a better you, trying to get in contact with your higher self. I said and is recognized as the what? The goddess of wisdom. And her temple strongly emphasized and espoused the philosophy of the wisdom teachings in order to achieve what? Higher spiritual consciousness. Is done through education. It's done with obtaining knowledge. It's done with manifesting your lessons. It is important to note here that the teachings which was practiced in ancient Egyptian temples of Aset, of listening to the reflecting upon and meditating upon the teaching, is the same process used in Vedanta, Jnana Yoga in India, even today. The yoga of wisdom is a form of what? Yoga that's based on what? Insight into the nature of what? Worldly existence and the transcendental self, thereby what? Transforming one's consciousness through what? Development of your wisdom faculties, meaning you're going to have to study and put some work in. Experience certain things for yourself. Thus, we have what? Here, a correlation between the ancient Egypt that matches what? Exactly in most respects to the other philosophical concepts in India. If we the originators, we didn't copy them. I'm just saying. Moving on. You have general discipline from the temples of Aset and Philae, Egypt. It's called the threefold process of wisdom, yoga in ancient Egypt. Okay? Then again, we're going to go over it. Listening, going to break it down. Listening to the wisdom teachings and having achieved what? The qualifications of what? An aspirant, meaning you passed the first qualification. There is a desire to what? Listen to the teachings from what? From a spiritual perspective. There is increasing what? Intellectual understanding when you're paying attention of the scripture and the meaning of what? Truth versus untruth. If we would use our Anubis, which is a part of your personality, he represents discernment. We have to employ our discernment to know what? Truth from untruth. Somebody telling you the truth or somebody giving you the old high Harlem. Okay. But you got to understand the real versus unreal, temporal versus eternal. Aset is eternal. Neptet, her twin sister, is mortal. They had two different concepts, but they always together. They stay together. They're twins like that. But for different concepts, right now we're just going to use Aset. Now, number 2, reflecting again. You're reflecting on those teachings, and you're living according to your spiritual disciplines, and you enjoined by the teachings until what? Until your wisdom is fully understood. Meaning you're going to do it until you get it right. Now you have wisdom and understanding of the teachings. And you reflecting implies what? Discovering the oneness behind the multiplicity of what? The world. How? By engaging in intense inquiry into what? The nature of one's true self, God. Okay? And when you go into the meditative state, the goal is to commune with that God in the higher state. The process, meditation, of reflecting will lead to what? A state in which your mind is what? Continuously God conscious. I continuously introspect, think about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, if I should do it, if I not do it. That's reflecting, that's self-checking again. And what happened? It means expansion of your consciousness, culminating in what? Revelations of a identification with what? Your absolute higher self, aka they say Brahma in India, we know it as Netta. Okay, Nabircha, God in layman's term. Okay, note now it's important that the same teachings that was practiced in ancient Egypt of listening to, reflecting upon, and meditating upon the teachings is the same process used in today. Right now, this very same process still carries on. Why? Because it still works. Okay? Now, you got ancient Egyptian proverbs. This is a good one. The wisdom path. If you seek God, you seek for the beautiful. One is the path that leads unto what? God. Devotion joined with wisdom is the way. So that means you have to have your own mystical experience to know God for yourself. And when you obtain self-knowledge, spiritual enlightenment, they tell you, do not be proud and arrogant with your knowledge. When you go get that degree, I just come from Michigan State, watching my daughter get her graduation, and everybody across that stage got their papers. And if you take that arrogantness with your little diploma, it's not going to work. Why? It says do not be proud and arrogant with your knowledge. Consult with who? The ignorant as well as the wise. Why? Because truth can and will be found among the maize and the grindstone, meaning the less fortunate, the people who are doing the job, the workers. You can learn from them too. If I'm teaching, I'm learning from my student. Why? They bring something to the table that I can learn. That's why. If you think you're above learning, you way off the boat. Next one we're going to talk about right quick. Yoga of wisdom. Intuitional wisdom is the object of what? The various practices of yoga, but the study of wisdom teachings is the most important step in what? In achieving intellectual knowledge, which will what? Be used to lead you to attain, you ready? Experiential, meaning for yourself, intuitional knowledge. That's what that's what I said represents. Intuitional knowledge and wisdom. When you study of the wisdom teachings of Aset, it's like what? Mental food. You're getting fed knowledge mentally. That's a good thing. And it is what? This mental diet of sublime thoughts, positive thinking, and positive affirmations, which will what? Which will give fortitude and direction to your life. If you do these things, you're on the right path. You're on the right track to what? Get knowledge and to know thyself, to reach Nihas. Okay? Now, the next thing on that path you got to do is exercise dispassion and detachment. See, these are things that you have to learn, and once you practice them, once you understand them, learn them, then you put them into practice. That's called manifesting. Now, dispassion and detachment, mastery of the passions will allow your divine thoughts and action, will lead to divine thoughts and action when you have mastery over what? Your ego self, your personal passions, your desires. When you have mastery over them, that will lead you to have divine thoughts and righteous and divine actions. In order to do right, you got to think right. I preach that, I teach that, I live it myself. Now, let's talk about detachment right quick. Detachment, absence of what? Feeling of mindness, sense of worth ownership toward son, wife, house, and the life of constant what? Equanimity of mind in all happenings, whether desirable or undesirable. Take your emotions out of any situation. You ain't in charge of nothing. You just there as an observer to see what's going on and check things out. You don't get involved. Next one. When you unflinching devotion to me, which is who? Your higher self. There, through the yoga of what? Inseparability. Abiding in solitary places. Meaning you go by yourself to pray and meditate. And not delighting in what? The company of the worldly minded. People who don't think like you. If you're on the path of spiritual enlightenment and you're around a bunch of ignorant people who's not, you're going to have problems. Avoid that by being what? By yourself if need be. That's the best way to go. Trust me. Been there too. Now, if any man cometh to me and hateth not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, ye and his own life also, he what? Cannot be my disciple. Jesus said that in the Bible, Luke 14:26. I agree 100% with the concept. Again, I know what he's saying. I understand what he means. So, moving on. Let's go. What? Uh-oh, I got to get this over. Man, I know I was good that time. What does the practice of dispassion and detachment really mean in practical life? Quickly, let me break that down for you. When you develop a pleasurable feeling based on what? Your interaction with objects. You develop what? A longing to experience that object what? More. You say, may I get more of that? This desire leads to what? Continuous mental unrest. Why? Until the object is acquired. See where we're going with this? And frustration and anger when what? When there is no possibility of you acquiring that object. There we go. Most people, children, that's what child. Adults shouldn't have that problem of getting like that because they don't get what they want. It's not a good look. Moving on. When you begin to rely on objects, that's anything outside of yourself, in essence, land, money, cars, people, etc. For happiness, I just gave that lesson. Knowledge of self, self-knowledge leads to, that's the root to true happiness. And all these things they telling you will not make you happy, will not bring you happiness. Saying, what's this? All these things, etc. for your happiness won't happen. Saying, when I get that, then I will be what? Happy. Yeah, you will. I'm telling you things will make you happy, but it don't lead to happiness. Or when what happens? When this happens, then I will be happy. Again, things, stuff. You are in reality cursing yourself or dooming yourself to what? Unhappiness. This is because why? There is no situation or object in this changing world of time and space which will make anyone what? Truly happy. That's why. All things change, and the human mind, once it acquires what it longs for, guess what? It becomes happy for the moment, for a while. I said a moment, it says for a while. But then what happened? It grows what? Tired of that situation or bored with the object. We all been there. We all experienced that. So we telling you what it is. It then what? It then desires other what? Objects. Now you want what? Other stuff. And what? Other situations. They call them entangled situations. What? When you want other objects and situation, what? For its what? Enjoyment. Why? Because it got bored with what it wanted. Excuse me. And when it got it, it wanted something else just that quick. That's why. And you got people who live like that. When you got money, you can do that. Why? Money is the deodorant to kill up a whole bunch of nonsense. Why? You can buy your way out. You can go get whatever you want. And that's making you happy. But that don't give you happiness. Let's go. And these desires of the mind and the flesh are what? Endless. They're not going to stop. You can't satisfy your ego. You can't satisfy your satious desires. This is the nature of the mind in what? An egoistic state. Again, I keep making that clear to you. And trying to satiate, see it, these desires is like what? Trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. Perfect example. I like that. And on that note, that's the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope I got my point across. I got to go. And in closing, right thinkers, may you all live to be 100 and be 100 minus a day. So I never know that right thinker like you and passed away. I'll be back. I got more lessons for you.